I, 32 male, have been married to my wife, 31, for 4 years, and between us, we've got a 4-year-old son. Our son is in preschool. I work long shifts as the primary breadwinner. My wife is in between jobs because she didn't like her old job. At least she's home to take care of our son. Recently, though, we were called into our son's preschool. They said that he had exhibited inappropriate behavior that had started about 3 weeks ago, trying to kiss girls, lifting up their skirts, and touching their butts. My wife and I were speechless. We could barely explain it because I'm always conscious of never behaving like that around my child. We're very strict about the programs we let him watch and always had a parent present when he went visiting or on playdates. As far as I knew, the only other place he could have picked up such strange ideas was at school. The teachers couldn't explain it either, especially since he was the only student behaving in that manner. Therefore, they were convinced that he had been exposed to that behavior at home. They had also done their part of talking to him, but clearly needed parental voices to back it up. We talked to our son about it and decided to consider therapy in case the behavior persisted. I couldn't shake the revelation, though, and thought I would have a chat with my son, man to man, and find out what had brought it on. I waited till my wife was away and asked him about his behavior. In all his childlike innocence, he told me that the uncle who came over while I was at work did that to his mother, and she had never reprimanded him. To his 4-year-old mind, he thought that that meant it was okay. His confession sparked my curiosity. It sounded like an affair, so I asked him a few questions. How often the uncle comes over? Most days. What do they do with mom? Kiss, giggle, and speak in whispers. How long does he stay over? Until I'm about to come back from work. I was furious. I was working hard to provide for our family, taking long hours at work and barely getting enough rest. Meanwhile, she was spending all her time cheating on me instead of looking for another job or being more present with our son. I planned to catch her in the act, so I laid out my strategy. For my plan, I faked a trip to visit my parents with my son. I told her that we would stay for a few days to free her up since she had been our son's primary caregiver since she had quit her work. She didn't even object or suspect anything. So I packed up and made it seem like this trip was a genuine event. I hid a camera in the living room and left with my son. Because I had no intention of going to my parents, I went to my brother who lives nearby. A few hours after we had left, our car pulled up outside our house, and the man got out. Using the camera in the living room, I watched as my wife and the man started making out in the living room. I was furious beyond belief, sad about my family, and heartbroken for my son. I recorded the video and sent it to her parents, brother, and other close family members. They all called me in a fit. Some of them decided to play ignorant and asked me what was going on. Had someone created a fake video or whatnot? Her parents called me and begged me to forgive the entire affair and try to work things out with her. They insisted that they had not raised their daughter that way, and there had to be a reasonable explanation for what had happened. They went ahead to say that they would talk to her themselves and get to the bottom of things. Her brother, on the other hand, was rightfully angry with her. He said he was shocked by her actions and would back me up with whatever course of action I chose to take. My wife also called once she saw the video and started begging and pleading for forgiveness. She claimed that she had been seduced and didn't have it in her to resist, but she had seen the error of her ways and didn't want to lose her family. She insisted that she was willing to do anything to get back into my good graces. By that time, I was over the entire relationship. I was disappointed that I had missed all the signs and they had been going behind my back in a house I had paid for. Even worse was the fact that they had exposed my 4-year-old son to such behavior. I made up my mind to separate from her. So I asked her to leave the house. Since I was the one paying for it and maintaining it, it was only fair. I also let her know that we were done. I didn't want to keep up a relationship with someone who would lie to me and disrespect me. She refused to leave and refused to accept that we were done. She kept insisting that we could work it out, at the very least for the sake of our son. I told her that if she would not leave peacefully, then I would have to bring in the authorities, and she would never see her son again. That brought her to her senses. She finally left. I filed for divorce. Through my mediator, I expect to keep the house and the car. We had already been keeping our finances separate. and I'd negotiate no alimony too because of what had led to the dissolution of the marriage, and I'd fight for at least 50% or more custody. I have no problem with co-parenting, and I will closely monitor what my child is exposed to. I'm going to use her actions against her in full force in the divorce to get what I want, and my lawyer says the ball is in my court. I can't wait to be done with this nightmare and move on with my life. OP, you're right to go for divorce instead of trying to make it work out as your STB ex-do wanted. She's a cheater and also a terrible mother for allowing her 4-year-old son to be exposed to her infidelity. The least she could have done was made sure to not cheat on you while her son was in the room. You should definitely use this against her in court. Everything's in your favor. Take care of your son and move on with your life. Now for today's second story. Over the last month, my girlfriend of 2 years, who I live with and with whom I just renewed our apartment lease for another year in December, has been showing many red flags. She lied to me twice about who she was with. The first time she told me she was hanging with her gay best friend. Checking Snapchat maps showed me she was really hanging with an old FWB she reconnected with on Tinder. I said she could have a Tinder, but only to talk to other girls. I talked to the dude, and he said all that happened was she twerked him a little. A few days later, I snooped on her phone when she was sleeping and saw a message from some guy saying, "Thanks for hanging out." I asked her what she did that night as I was at work, and she said that it was just her and the animals. I called her out, and she apologized. But she then gaslighted me, saying it was my fault, that she lied because I got so jealous. She said all they did was smoke and watch The Witcher. I snooped on her phone again a couple of weeks later and saw her messages to her ex. She had been sharing details of our sex life and even sent him a video of us without my consent. I called her out, and she said it was a small mistake and that I shouldn't have snooped. There's more, but the condom thing happened last night. See, I recently switched to the overnight shift to accommodate her schedule, no less. I came home and I noticed the lotion was out on my nightstand. I checked the trash next to the bed and found a condom wrapper. She and I don't use condoms. She said she must have found it while cleaning and thrown it away. Bullshit, because we don't use them, and the way it is torn showed that it was used, just a corner ripped off. She had to leave for work right away, and that's where she is now. She finally admitted she had an old college friend over to smoke and sell him some of her prescription pills. She's pretty broke, but he left right away. Also, since I pay her phone bill, I was able to access text logs. I found some instances where she had texted me goodnight while I was at work, but she still stayed up texting other numbers. Sadly, I can't view the logs for the current cycle. I can't reconcile all these red flags. It sucks I'm too broke to break the lease, but I might just have to borrow the money. I don't buy her condom story for 1 second. Update. She is still really secretive and won't give her phone up at all. I made her give me the Snapchat handle of the guy who came over last night by saying if she didn't, then I would cut off her phone payments. She hurried and warned him that a message from me was coming. He made some excuse that he had just come away from his girlfriend's house and had the wrapper and had thrown it away in my trash. And it just so happens to be the same brand as the one that went missing from my nightstand drawer. Likely story. I never knew how intense gaslighting was until she started calling me a psycho for snooping on her phone and going through text logs. I hate it too, but it's the only way to get a straight answer. She keeps saying, "I only lied to protect you because I knew how you'd feel if I told you I was with a guy friend." Bullshit, you lied to protect yourself because you know how bad it looks. She's out right now with her gay friend for his birthday party. I've received no pictures, and she has lied saying she was with him before when she was really with someone else. I haven't told her yet because I'm afraid if I break up with her while we still have the lease, she will have free rein to bring in a new guy every night while I'm at work. So I have to figure out how to break the lease first. OP, dating is a test to see if someone is life-worthy. You passed with flying colors. Your girlfriend failed miserably. You need to get yourself checked for STDs immediately. Talk to your landlord and see if you can get her off the lease. Tell him she's cheating. He won't want that kind of drama in his life, and he might be empathetic. She had sex with another guy in your bed, but you know this already. You're not stupid. Cheaters lie, and they lie a lot. They're great at it. It's time to end this. I wholeheartedly agree with terminating the phone service since it's in your name, but do it when you eventually come to terms and break up with her without any warning. As for the lease, maybe you can convince the landlord real estate that you want to stay on the lease, but as a sole person due to personal circumstances. If required, just tell them the truth. I'm not sure how this would go, but perhaps you can threaten legal action for sharing that video without your consent and use that to try and gain access to the phone. But seeing, as you mentioned, that she says she deletes stuff all the time, going that avenue might be a waste of time. Still consider legal action though. Also, if you have a shared friend circle, you might want to somehow inform them. The last thing you want is her making you the demon in this situation. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below on what your thoughts are. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me.